Hi, come on in. You must be my new client. Perfect. My name is Alyssa, and I'm going to be helping you build your first tour. It's so exciting, I know. So your management team helped pair you up with me. It can be quite a lot, so it is kind of helpful to have a tour manager at first. So yeah, I just wanted to meet with you and kind of begin the process of touching on everything. It, like I mentioned, is kind of extensive, but I do want to make sure we're meeting your dreams and expectations for your first tour. While it won't be extravagant as like a world tour, it will meet everything you want it to in what we can fit in your budget anyway, which is what we're going to have to talk about in the first place, as like what you're able to put towards this, what your management's able to put towards this, and then we may have to do some like outreach, some crowdfunding, find some sponsors, stuff like that, if we need to kind of fill in some money here and there. Yeah, okay. So let me just get your file I started pulled up. Have you considered what you'd like to contribute towards your budget here, or has your management mentioned anything they can put towards this? Okay, we can work with that. Yeah. I understand it's like a lot. It feels like a lot of money. It kind of is a lot of money, so we want to make sure that we are gonna definitely break even, but also come out with something that was worth it. Okay. All right. So let me mention in my notes what you said as the budget here. And I will do my best to, fit in your budget what I can. I do work with some agencies and suppliers and such of equipment, of course, to help make these dreams come true, but we may have to work with somebody that might be more affordable, which is okay. I just don't have ins with everybody. So some places we can finagle a bit of a deal, but other ones I'm not sure. There's nothing wrong with that. We just will make it fit. So yeah, with the budget here, we need to talk about the projected expenses that you may not consider, but these are the things that we will have to account for in the beginning. And then we'll talk about the projected income, which will hopefully, like I said, meet it, exceed it, and then we come out with something earned. So with the projected expenses, then we do have to think about travel, and a couple things go into that. If you have to rent a vehicle, if you need to fix the car, if there are tolls, the gas prices of it, of course, and any parking in places that may require you to pay for parking. Some venues do have the parking specifically for the artists, but other ones may require us to move a bus or the truck, whatever you're driving around in, and then we'll have to pay for parking when we move it off the lot. So there's the travel, then there's lodging and food if you're going to stay overnight somewhere, if you're going to sleep in the bus or the truck, whatever you're taking. And then there's going to be like an allotted amount for food every day. Yeah. So those kinds of things. We also have to think about paying the crew in production and the rental costs of any of the band equipment. If you aren't bringing your own stuff, you can rent stuff, and sometimes those come with like coverages if a string breaks on a guitar, if a drum gets broken, different things like that. Okay. Yeah, and the crew includes the like the sound engineers and me and anyone building the stages, taking them down for you if that is what you're gonna do. Because some of these venues that are smaller that we will be able to get you in for this, they don't necessarily have a stage that they put up and take down, and even with that, it may not meet the size requirement for the amount of equipment you're gonna have on it, the amount of people you're gonna have on it, and just the space you'll need. I know some bands tend to move around more than others, and it's just their thing. They just need more space, so they can do that. Let's see. So I've touched on all of that. Do you know if you're going to have to rent any gear? Or do you want to bring stuff? Because I know this will be the first. Okay. Yeah, like I said, with renting, you do have a bit more coverage for things if they break. When you bring your own stuff, like if a guitar stops working, and you didn't bring others, there could be a problem, obviously. But usually you bring a couple. I can give you pricing for some of these just to give you an idea. And we can definitely keep that portion as an iffy. So if we need to cut that and you need to bring your own stuff, you can. We just have to think about the projected costs of potential incidents that would happen with that then. Okay. So let me make a note of that. Okay. You did want to know some of the pricing? Okay. So, yeah, for gear rental, and this is per event you're doing, so it depends on how many places we're going as well, but just for a single show, the gear can be anywhere from $500 to $5,000. And that would include the guitar and bass amps and like individually. I have those prices broken down as well if you'd like to know that, but the guitars, it depends like the quality of the guitar itself too, how much you're renting it for. The lower end ones can go for like $75 and the higher end ones can go for around $125. And normally the people I work with have Fender Twin Reverb and like Ampeg models. Okay. Some other things we'll have to consider is any promotion and marketing, administrative work, and then of course like delivery of the stages. If we're not lugging them around, they will have to probably be delivered in the first place, and then the labor of those workers putting the stages together, and if we require them to do that everywhere we go, or like I said, if we're lugging it around ourselves. And the stage packages, that's another thing we'll have to look at here. Oh, yeah, I went over the guitar prices individually. I have listed on here that the drum kits can be anywhere from $150 to $350 per day, and that's for a 5-piece set. Keyboards and stage pianos can be $100 to $150 a day, and then any accessories like the lighting, guitar stands, piano stands, microphone stands, and anything else you can think of, really. Those really depend. That range I have listed from $5 to $65. But the stages themselves, those can be, like, for a small stage, like $450, and then for like larger stages, which we don't have to really worry about that for you at this point in time, just because this is your first one, and we will most likely be touching on smaller clubs and venues that will take or accommodate, just because you're not as well known yet, which hopefully this helps reach more audiences for you. But the larger stages, just to give you an idea, can be $1950. Yeah, 2000 range. Yeah. So, now that we've talked about the expenses, we can start touching on the hopeful income. Now I'm just touching on bullet points here. I'm not sure we'll be able to do everything in this session today, but I do want to get the basic information from you so I can start searching for things, and then when we come back together we can make better decisions. So in terms of income, there is clearly the ticket prices. We do have to think about the guaranteed income that we're getting from the tickets, because a lot of the places have door splits. So it's what it sounds like. Then there is merchandise, which everybody gets excited about that because you can design some cool stuff. I also can work on that and bring you some designs from my side, but if you would like to put some together and present them, that would be great as well. We can collaborate on that and come up with something that will really represent the feeling of your band and the tour that you are taking on the road. Okay? Yeah, and that includes a lot of different things like the apparel, vinyls and CDs. Some bands have done cassettes, there's bandanas, there's pins, there's magnets still, keychains, all sorts of things. I am open to, if you have a new idea for some merch that you'd like to have at your show. I think it would be really fun and unique, but it does have to be within the budget we're going to be spending. Yeah, so, and then we'll have to work on pricing of those things afterward. We may be able to touch on that today, but I don't know. I do have like base prices for what it costs for us to make them, order them. So there's that as well. And yeah, in terms of the income, I already mentioned to you the external supports we could reach out to with the brand sponsorships. Sometimes bands are offered grants as well, and the crowdfunding, crowd donations. So let me see what I wanted to get from you information wise here. Gonna need a couple of things. So I know you're more of a Midwest region band at the moment. Did you want to tour the Midwest, or did you want to go farther than that? Are there certain states, like with your social medias and such, that you can project where your audiences are from? Okay, majorly the Midwest still. Okay. So we can do a Midwest tour then, just to get you out and exposed to other people, because there will be the occasional person who likes to just attend a show nearby because it's happening and it's in an affordable venue. So that is how we branch you out. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you could look at that, that would be great. So, let's see then. So the Midwest consists of, what do we have here? Okay, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Ohio, and Michigan, from what I have over here. So I know we're meeting in this state, so we'll definitely want to do, okay, so we will have to also think of like the touring path you want to take. Yeah, but you can start anywhere. It's just we have to kind of be logical, and then also contact the venues and see if they have those dates available to us, and then set something up. And it doesn't have to be one day after the other day. You will have like a day, maybe 2 days sometimes in between, so you can kind of get some rest, adjust, explore the place you're in, all sorts of things, because otherwise that's kind of like running you down real fast if we have you speed run it. So okay, so in that case we could drop off Iowa then, if you don't think that's worth it. That will also save you money, and then if there is another one you want to drop, okay, neither Dakota, okay. All right then, so I've got a map pulled up on my secondary screen here. Let me just think. If we do we want to circle, or do you want to do like a zigzag, or do you just want me to kind of figure out what works here? Okay. So then we have Nebraska, Kansas, I'm trying to see here. This is Missouri. Okay. So we're gonna skip Iowa. Okay, I'm thinking that we should be able to do a loop around. So Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, the visual's helping, but it's also not at the same time. Go across to Wisconsin, and end in Minnesota, potentially. I'll eye those. I'll also have to look up venues in these areas. I know some of them that I tend to use quite a bit. There are some on the higher end, some on the lower end, so we will be able to figure that out. We'll probably want to look in the low end, mid-range for this store because of the budget and the needs we're going to be meeting. But they aren't like low-end trashy venues. They're just the more reasonable ones that we can afford for this. So that sounds good, and we're avoiding North Dakota, South Dakota, and Iowa. Okay. So that answers that question. I'll focus on these ones. Are there certain cities in each of these states you'd like to touch on, like the capitals, or maybe major ones you hear about often on social media and such? Okay. Yeah, I could recommend some that I've had quite a few bands go to. I'll have to look for that list in my files later. I can write them down and then we can meet again and talk about that. But you mostly want to eye the capitals then, just to be safe around the capitals at least. Okay. Capitals are popular music towns. Okay. And I do think that's a safe bet for that. So the venue size is what we're going to have to talk about next then. In that sense is, I did mention the smaller low-end music scenes that we can put you in or around. I do think that would be probably the best choice here because it will also save you money. Now, if there is a venue in a certain state, city that you definitely want to play and you know will fit about the size of the audience that you bring in, I can do some things, make some stuff work. I just need to know that ahead of time. Okay. In Chicago. Okay. That should work. Anywhere else? I do think the rave can be kind of, well, the room I normally put. Let me see. I think they have two separate venues within there. Otherwise, that can be one you strive for in a future tour. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not. Let's see. How many? How many people do you expect to be bringing in per event? Like, you've done some of the local ones, I'm sure. Okay. Okay, they do have some smaller spaces inside of the rave. That maybe we could see about working with. I know some of these buildings that have been converted have multiple spaces that they can host things within. Some of them are larger, some of them are smaller. And we would definitely, that one might be hard for like date wise trying to pick something out because they do have a lot of major bands that go and play here. And we wouldn't want some crazy crossover situation. Yeah, I can note it on here, but we'll probably have to hold off on that one for now. Okay. We will put it in the file though as somewhere you do want to touch on eventually, especially if you continue to work with us. We can sort that out. I know one of these ballrooms, they definitely do have two venues. Like there's the larger one and the smaller one for the different crowds that it can bring in, but that would probably be another good question to ask. I know I kind of already asked it, but how many tickets have you been selling, or how many, like the venues you've been playing at, how many does it hold typically? And have you filled the rooms? Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, so in that case, I'm thinking some of the smaller clubs and bars is something we may want to stick to for the states that are a little bit, like not the ones we dropped off, of course, but the ones that aren't the highest in listeners. So that way we don't over project and then not fill a room, and we definitely don't want to upset the venue themselves if they're expecting to sell a certain amount of food that night or whatever, you know, drinks, food. So capacity, if you can note down, there's some notepads there, if you could just note down the states that you have like the higher listenership. There's viewership and I guess there's listenership, I don't know, the highest amount of listeners in and the lower amount, because we clearly dropped off the 3 states that had the lowest, but just for now, so that way I can keep an eye on that and also pick the right sizes. For the places closer to your hometown, I would say that we'd want like mid-sized, maybe even theaters, because those can hold up to 6,500 people in them. So you will definitely meet that capacity with those places. And you probably will have some people who are like super dedicated and will follow you on the tour, or at least follow you on some states of the tour, which is great, especially for you know, where you're at right now. And this is no shade. I feel like some people may take this as shady, but I'm just being realistic, and in being realistic like this, it will save you the money in the budget for the things we do want to accomplish. We're just, that's what I like to do, be realistic. So how long have you been playing for then? Okay, all right. Okay. Yeah. So you're right in the mid-range there, where you will have some dedicated fans and then newer ones coming on. And if you're close enough, because we're only doing about 1 city per state, if they're close enough, you may see some other faces being at every show. Okay, and I will just do a basic touch on this. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself because I know we only have so much time together today. But ideally, how large of a stage would you need? How many members are in your band? Okay. Okay, let me see here then. 8 by 8 would be too small. 8 by 12 would be too small. And the large size for the solo artist duo one is the same as the band of 3 to 6. That's the same size. Do you all tend to move a lot? Do you jump around, like bob weave the whole stage? Okay, if that's the case, the stage will still be and feel kind of small, but I'm thinking that we should do the 16 by 20. It's a nice middle ground for the size band you have, and it will hold the equipment you need, but the equipment will make the stage feel a little bit smaller, but it will be quite decent in the price range because those can go anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000, especially if you need the roof, any mechanical deploys, and if it needs to be indoor, outdoor, or if it's just going to strictly be indoor, that kind of helps. But yeah, we need to think about all those aspects. So what did I say? The 16 by 20. Okay. Great. Okay. And yeah, in a future meeting where we talk more about the design stuff, I will need to work with you on like the placement on the stage of everything, where you want lights, speakers, mics, any stands, risers, or banners. Some of them you can hang banners from. Other ones, well, like other venues, will have areas where you can hang banners around the venue instead of off of the stage in the front or so. Especially with what I project being indoor events, you won't need the whole rig that goes up and around. Those ones can hold banners on the sides as well as on the top. But being indoor majority of the time, you won't need that whole rig. So we'll have to think about banners, and if you want them, we'd have to print a few because sometimes they do get taken at shows and they don't come back with you. So they're not like easily used one place to another. You will have to have extras to put up in other arenas, venues, to make sure that, you know, it looks how you want. So now I've got the basic information about, you know, like where you'd like to go, the projected path we might be taking. I'll look up the venues, get back to you on that. Some of the places you'd potentially like to play in. And the amount of members that'll be on the stage and about the stage size we'll need. Also in a future meeting, we'll talk about your set list you'd like to have, as well as the marketing sides of things. We can do so many different kinds of marketing. There's radio. We can talk to local places that do radio, talk about music. A lot of the colleges around these cities will let the students know, especially on their own radio station, what's going on in the area and like what's the hot thing to do that weekend, and then they'll probably want to interview you. We also have like targeted ads, of course, through Meta and Google. And then there's ways to set up like pixels to retarget any previous ticket buyers. We'd have to connect that in a certain way because we haven't worked with you before, but if you sold tickets online before to certain venues you've played at, we can get that figured out and then retarget those purchasers of those tickets. And then what? There's like other platform integrations with music pages, and we'll be able to sync like your tour dates and everything, so they'll be able to see them through there, like Spotify and Apple Music and Bandsintown. So we'll want to do that. And then, yeah, I mentioned some of the like grassroots options like the college radio stations and everything, but there are also the independent record shops in the areas that would be happy to post any posters you'd like to hang about the upcoming events. They may also ask to do interviews, which we can get stuff situated with that. They're always excited to show new bands, expose listeners to new people in the area. So yeah, and even micro influencers from certain cities. That's something, yeah, we've been touching on recently, especially if they have music pages and talk about them. Sometimes we can ask them to do promotions for your tour as well. And then when we go ahead and do like promotion for the tour and the dates when it gets closer, we will do some like coordinated launches and press outreach for you, where we'll kind of contact the radio stations and any like YouTube channels you've seen talk about music. Some magazines, sometimes those are a little harder to get into at first, but we have these connections. So when it comes to the coordinated launches, we'll get the artist, the venue, any other local promoters, sponsors, to all have the same marketing assets, I guess, and we'll launch everything on the same day, so that way people know where to go. It'll have links connected to it. It'll show the tour dates, and it'll be eye-catching so that people want to click on it and check it out and go. Yeah. And then what we also ask is, of course, which I feel like I don't really have to ask this because it seems like a no-brainer, but that the artists themselves make sure that the ticket purchasing website, no matter what it is mentioned in your like bio or somewhere on your social media where your fans or new listeners can go to easily find where to get tickets if they don't happen to see the link pop up or they didn't use it right away. You know, the targeted ads didn't like they passed them that day, but they kept in mind that they needed to check it out. We just want easy access for that. So yeah, and then we could talk about this now. This could also be something that we revisit in the future. But when it comes to the ticketing, we do like to do frictionless ticketing. So we need to know ahead of time before we do launches, like if there's a plan for VIP, if there's a plan for early entry, early bird purchasing, ticket discounts of any sort, and of course general admission. We want to know if we're going to launch all that on the same day, if we are going to like how we're pricing it, or if we're launching them on separate days but making announcements for those. Sorry, I'm tripping up over my words. I'm not sure if you have like a fan page yet where people go, a fan club thing. Sometimes we can do promotions for the fan clubs so that they get early access to tickets, discounted prices, whatever you want. And like for the VIP experiences, first dibs on them. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I've touched on pretty much all of that. Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. If you want to come next time with like a more prepared list of if you want any sort of VIP stuff, we would like to try to keep it to maybe 3 at most options for VIP outside of general admission, because the more you add, the more confusing it gets, and that's why we like to call this frictionless, because there's like it's right in your face most of the time, easy to click, easy to understand. The more you add, the more confusing it gets. That's okay. Do you have any questions for me? Okay. Yeah, so next time, if you could come with, like I said, the ideas for the tickets that you'd like, the ticketing options, if you want to offer any sort of VIP, any designs for potential merch, or ideas for merch that aren't the usual ones. And then talk it over with your band members, see what you want to do. But the equipment, which because we've dropped certain states from this tour, I'm thinking that we'll be fine, honestly, if you wanted to rent equipment. But I do understand wanting to use your specific instruments as well that you're most comfortable with. You could even do both. You could bring some of your own and then have the rental ones as backups, just in case. And then I'm trying to think. That might be everything I need from you next time. Otherwise, we can talk it over. I think I'm gonna stick with this stage size unless you do talk that over and then your band members think you need more space to do stuff. But I think you should maybe test it out on a go with this size before we bump you up, because it does cost more money. And like I said, depending on the route, if you're lugging it around, if you're asking them to bring it and set it up every time, that changes the amount you're paying for that. Oh, and then we'll talk about marketing and the different options for like advertisements in the news feeds and what you want posters to look like. Yeah. Okay, so we need marketing assets, VIP options, and merch ideas. Okay. Made a note of that for myself. Yeah, I think that's everything. We've pretty much come up on our appointment time here, time slot. Of course, you can email me, call if you have any questions in the meantime, but thank you for coming in and talking this over with me. It's very helpful because I need somewhere to start to get this figured out for you. And I hope this kind of opened your eyes to different elements that go into the tour planning and all of that. It seems fun and easy to just jump on the road, but there's all this stuff, expenses that needs to be taken care of as well. So it's very serious, very important that this is all planned out, fail-safes in place in case of emergencies. And yeah, so all of this helps the tour run so much more smooth, so much that makes it run smoothly. Okay. And the less hiccups we may have, the better it is for you, so you enjoy your time. Okay. All right. Yeah. You can go ahead and schedule another time to come in with the front desk out there, and then I will start this here. I think I'll need about 2-3 weeks. So if you want to schedule that far out. Okay. And I'm just gonna enter all this information in. But yeah, thank you so much for coming in, and I will talk to you in a couple weeks then. Okay? Bye now.